to 5 award-winning minutes with Stephen Seidel. We have another great show for you today. We have Marta New from Radyus Research. Marta, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me, Stephen.
Wonderful. Well, I love to talk to somebody in Atlanta. It's my favorite city I've never been to. I've heard great things. I've also heard great things about the work that you're doing at Radyus as well. Give us a little bit of background about how it started and what was the inciting incident of when you first began your company?
Sure, happy to. Yeah, so we are a drug development organization, which doesn't really roll off the tongue, and it's quite niche. But we work with a lot of biotech companies that are developing new drugs. And the idea behind the model, this business model, came from my venture capital days. I spent about a decade investing in academic spinouts, early stage venture backed drug companies, and I observed what separated successful ones versus not so successful ones. And that was an experienced, organized team to execute it. So when I moved to Atlanta about 5-6 years ago, after my latest VC gig, I decided to open Radyus Research.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. You mentioned experience and organized team to execute it. Give me an example of something that you would see in an organization where a little bit more palatable, if you will. Could you give us like an actual example of something that you saw where, oh, they didn't do X, Y, Z, or you didn't have this clinical trial, or you failed to have this within your organization? Was there something that you've seen in an organization that is a red flag where if somebody's watching this, like, oh, we need to do this?
Yes, excellent question. So a lot of drug development starts at universities. And if you think about the research that they're doing, they're trained scientists. And so if you're a scientist, you train to really keep asking yourself, how does this work? What's the next experiment that I can do? You are often set up to miss the development of that into a product. And so in my VC days, we would see a lot of really good science, but not such good plans to how to turn that science into a product, and lack of experience in just how pharma works. So if you're at a university, you're probably 15 years from that product being interesting to pharmaceutical companies acquiring it from you. And that window of about 10 to 15 years can make you or break you. So we've seen a lot of cool science that never got translated in awesome therapeutics they could have been, just because nobody was there to put together a product development plan and then execute on it. So that's what we do at Radyus now.
Product and execution. I love that. So I work a lot in the biotech industry as well, and I come more from a branding and marketing background. Once they have the science and they have the product, we want to envision what that story is that you're telling both internally and externally. Mission, message, media, and then marketing. Where would you see in terms of the importance when executing your story as an organization of the science and the clinical trials? How important are those case studies or FDA clearance? What is your range of importance in terms of your checklist?
Oh, great. The importance of what we do sets the stage for how that product's going to look like down the road. So if you just go and start from the end, which is an FDA approved product that needs to be prescribed to physicians, understanding the positioning and the differentiation, and as you called it, Stephen, the story needs to be determined today in the hands of that researcher when we get involved, which is in the preclinical stage. So a science that maybe looks like a product, and it still needs to be tested at animals in the next 3 to 4 years, and before it's even put into humans and clinical trials. Knowing what that story is and how that product is going to compete once approved, is critical to do the right experiments now, today, in animals. And we call that a target product profile, which we on day one sit down and talk about with our clients. And it really helps them do the right experiments and tell that story throughout and get more funding and get better traction with the FDA. And yeah.
Great. That's thank you so much. I'm enjoying this conversation. So some of our clients are PRP derived and they really only want to test on humans. So where do you see, have you seen a growing trend within regenerative medicine or just in general of people that maybe don't want to test on animals due to cruelty or PETA or whatever you might be? And how do you work through that? If, you need to test on people, what is the solution for that?
Great question, and very timely with the changes within the FDA that have recently, even as late as 2 weeks ago, announced the trending or the kind of push away from animal testing for some monoclonal antibodies and cell therapies. So, Stephen, my clients are mostly therapeutics companies, but I think the same holds for cosmetics industry. The reliance on animal models is pretty archaic, and especially in diseases that are driven by the human immune system. And if you're going to be testing something in an animal that doesn't have the same immune response, or, in the case of topicals, it is actually preferential to use ex vivo models. And ex vivo basically stands for taking the tissue from humans and growing them in the lab and then testing kind of to see, and trying to avoid unnecessarily harming the animals. And so the FDA a couple of weeks ago announced a new guidance for some of the biologics to actually skip some of the safety testing in animals and to use in silico modeling, so computational biology to predict safety, and to use ex vivo models whenever appropriate. So there is a very vocal trend that is led by more kind of commercial areas like the cosmetics, where the client is paying out of pocket, but eventually, hopefully, the entire industry shifts away from unnecessary animal testing and solves using the computers and human testing how we can develop still safe but efficacious treatments.
Wonderful. Well, Marta, we could probably talk for 7 hours. I really appreciate all the information that you provided. If you are seeking some help in the therapeutic marketplace, definitely check out Marta and Radyus Research. Thank you so much for coming on today. It's been an honorable, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, Stephen.